Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our Wednesday night discussion, reading through the Tanak, May the 3rd, 2023. Okay. Well, those that want to know, you can go to our YouTube channel, Prophets of Awakening, and check out our videos. There's a lot of information given in the videos. We connect dots for you and lead you into the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving through these videos, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Okay. This is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, and Torah being the 35 books of the Old Testament given to Moses on Sinai. Okay. Shalom and welcome to Prophets of Awakening, and welcome to our reading through the Bible segment. Okay. We're gonna do our normal before we start reading. And that is we're gonna do our moment of silence, prayer, songs, current events, a little need to know information. Then we'll open it up for some Q&A. Then we're going back to reading from out of the book of Genesis. Okay. Okay. The moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts, and all that He's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Okay. Oh Lord, we come this day praising Thee and worshiping Thee for our might and our power and our great understanding. Oh Lord, the end times that You have foretold are upon us. Oh Lord, give us strength and wisdom to endure all that Thou hast foretold. Give us, oh Lord, the knowledge to rightly divide Thy words, that they be delivered in righteousness and in truth. Oh Lord, we need You so very much in these latter days. We will tarry and depend upon You, O Lord, because there is none else besides You, Lord. You are our deliverer and our redeemer. Peace be unto You. Okay. We read a song right quick. I'll read Psalms 113. It's God's mercies are many. Praise Ye the Lord. Praise, O ye servants of the Lord. Praise the name of the Lord. Blessed be the name of the Lord from this time forth and forevermore. From the rising of the sun to the going down of the same, the Lord's name is to be praised. The Lord is high above all nations, and His glory above the heavens. Who is like unto the Lord, our God, who dwelleth on high, who humbleth Himself to behold the things that are in heaven and in the earth. He raises up the poor out of the dust, and lifteth the needy out of the dunghill, that He may set him with princes, even with the princes of His people. He maketh the barren woman to keep house, and to be a joyful mother of children. Praise Ye the Lord. And that was Psalms 113, God's mercy and many. Okay. With that being said, we go to our current events.
Leading money managers are warning the collapse of another American bank could lead to a credit crunch and an economic slowdown. Constrained lending as a result of stricter banking regulation could stifle credit to the US economy at a critical time. We'll be getting an expert view on this in just a moment, but first here's my colleague Samira Hussein on the collapse of First Republic.
As of Monday, First Republic customers turning up at their bank are in fact customers of JP Morgan Chase. The signs above will soon change. First Republic had been under pressure since the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank 2 months earlier. Last week, First Republic revealed depositors had withdrawn $100 billion in the space of a few months. Customers feared their money was not safe. Investors became convinced it was about to fail. Riding to the rescue of America's distressed financial system, the boss of America's biggest bank, Jamie Dimon. He says the turbulence in the banks is nearly over.
And so this is getting near the end of it, and hopefully this helps stabilize everything. I think you've seen all the regional banks report. They actually had some pretty good results. The American banking system is extraordinarily sound.
First Republic is the biggest U.S. bank failure since 2008. It invariably brings back memories of the collapse of Lehman Brothers and Bear Stearns and the global financial crisis that followed. Industry experts say the causes this time are very different.
It's about two things. It's about the speed with which interest rates had to be hiked and the monetary excess which really preceded it, which is quite different to what happened in, say, 2007.
For the Biden administration, the 11th hour rescue package is a win.
All depositors are protected, and the taxpayers are not on the hook. These actions are going to make sure that the banking system is safe and sound, and that includes protecting small businesses across the country.
Despite assurances that the bank in less than 2 months, and as the U.S. economy seems to teeter towards a slowdown, there are fears here on Wall Street that more banks could fail. Samira Hussein, BBC News, New York.
If a scammer gets on your system, they're going to live on there. They'll go through things like
It's further with Dan Kemp, Global Chief Investments Officer at Morningstar Investment Management. Good morning to you, Dan. Now, I know for Europe, much of Europe markets were shut, but looking at Wall Street, although the failure of another bank resulted in a bit of a sell-off among some lenders, should I say, it did not spark the same degree of market mayhem as Silicon Valley Bank did when it collapsed, and Signature Bank as well. So what's your thinking about where people are at with regards to the failure of First Republic?
Well, hello, Sally. You're absolutely right. It's a different situation from where we were when Silicon Valley Bank failed, because that was really shocking for people. That's the first time we've seen a bank failure in a while. It's the first time investors had to deal with the impact of interest rates and the speed with which people can withdraw their deposits in this new world that we're all living with. So that was genuinely shocking. And of course, when people are surprised, they tend to react quickly, and then they sell their holdings and expect more to come. Well, this was much more orderly over the weekend as the FDIC, that insures depositors in the US, sold the assets to JP Morgan. That happened when markets were closed, and so when markets opened yesterday, there was a resolution, so people were much calmer. That doesn't mean there aren't more surprises to come. There could be other things happening in the banking sector, but this was a good outcome for depositors. And it seems to be a good outcome for JP Morgan, and it certainly was met with a calm response yesterday.
Some of the world's leading fund managers, chief economists of various banks, etc., they're all gathered in California right now for the annual Milken conference. They have been talking about this. Of course, it's the big talking point, and their concerns are that they're very cautious about the outlook. What could this mean for the US economy going forward? If banks in general are stifled in terms of their lending?
Well, it could have an impact. We saw, of course, in the global financial crisis that if the credit system gets clogged, if the banking sector gets clogged, if they can't make new loans, then that will have an impact on the broader economy. Of course, the confidence in banks has an impact on the broader economy as well. But we need to remember that, as Jamie Dimon said in your clip earlier, that the US banking system, the global banking system, is in much more robust health. It is in good health compared to where we were just over a decade ago. And so what we're looking at in Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank, and more recently First Republic, is fairly isolated instance caused by losses of confidence in particular weak banks. Now, why people aren't more confident about the outlook right now is, of course, when you have a failure of a bank, then fund managers that can bet against banks, what we call short sellers, can move on to the next weakest target market. And that's why we can't be sure that this situation is finished, but it's very, very different from where we were just about 15 years ago.
Okay, Dan, good to talk to you. Have a good week. We'll see you again soon, Dan Kemp.
Okay, any comments on that? Anybody heard about that? Okay.
No, I haven't.
Okay, got some more.
I haven't.
Some more information on that. This all happened just yesterday. I mean, Monday, started Monday, Sunday or Monday.
About the US banking crisis. It's not over. On Monday, we told you about First Republic Bank. It's been sold to JP Morgan. And this has triggered new fears. Banking stocks in the US are down. Investors are worried. They fear that more banks are on the brink, that more banks could fail. What's the basis of this? What is driving these concerns? That's what we'll discuss tonight, starting with the latest. Bank stocks took a beating on Tuesday. These were mostly mid-sized banks. What are mid-sized banks? Those with assets of $15 to $115 billion. It's a big range. These are typically banks that start as hometown banks, catering to a specific town or community. As they grow, they expand to nearby regions, usually by delivering highly personalized services. These are mid-sized banks, and they took a beating yesterday. Topping the list is a Los Angeles-based bank called PacWest. Stocks fell by more than 27%. Then we have a bank called Western Alliance. It lost 15% of its stock value. Third on the list is KeyCorp, down by 9%. A bank called Comerica shed 12%. Synovus Financial Corp lost 7%. These numbers translate into billions of dollars, and this trend is concerning. The question is, what is driving it? On first impressions, this seems to be a reaction to First Republic's takeover. We talked about this on Monday. First Republic has been sold to JP Morgan. It's the third bank to fail in this crisis, also the second largest bank failure in US history. Earlier, 11 banks tried to rescue First Republic. They injected $30 billion to avoid the collapse, but they couldn't save the bank. So the regulator stepped in, and the bank had to be sold. First Republic, too, was a mid-sized lender, the kind of banks we talked about earlier. And its collapse has left investors worried. They fear other banks will meet the same fate. The question is this an overreaction or a legitimate concern? Now, if you follow stocks, you know that they mostly react to sentiment. So it could just be that, a sharp reaction to a bank collapsing. But here's something that we cannot ignore. The vulnerabilities in the US economy, the collapsing banks have exposed them, and they could put pressure on other banks. Now, what are these vulnerabilities? First is commercial real estate. Valuation of commercial property has fallen drastically in the US. Prices are down by 20 to 25%. For office spaces, the decline is steeper. It's a fall of 30%. Now, how does this impact banks? Well, they fund the acquisition of such properties. A large part of their lending is for commercial real estate. The buyers take out loans, they buy property on mortgage, and they owe money to banks. Now there are signs of stress. Buyers are not being able to keep up with mortgages. In February, a leading property trust defaulted. Do you know what was the value of their debt? More than $1.7 billion. Last month, there was another high-profile default. It was of $161 million US. So clearly, commercial loans are under pressure. And that's one problem. Here's another. Banks are sitting on a pile of unrealized losses. What are unrealized losses? And how did banks end up with such losses? This is basically about a bank's book of assets. So you buy something for $100. Then the price of that asset falls to $80. You haven't sold it yet. But if you sell it, you'll incur a loss of $20. That's your unrealized loss. It's a potential loss. It means you're holding a loss-making asset. Whenever you sell it, you'll make a loss. Hence the term unrealized loss. American banks have a lot of these losses. Going by one estimate, $620 billion, meaning US banks are sitting on a $620 billion pile of unrealized losses. Sounds like a huge sum, but it could be worse because some.
Okay. Not looking good. Any comments on that? He was in the same position, what, 3 weeks ago with Silicon Valley? and the other banks, and now we're back here again. Okay. That's some need to know information right here. Yeah, check this out. It's kind of like just supposed to be a end time alert. You compare it to coming from a Christian mind, but it's an end time alert, and it's got to do with May 28th. And check it out. Listen to it.
Recently, I talked to someone I've known for many years. His name is Mike Bickle. He's the founder of IHOP, not the pancake place, but the prayer place. And God's just done marvelous things through this man. And he had a prophecy many years ago. He would call 1 million people to pray and fast for Israel. And you know what he said? I've heard some wacky prophecies, but this is the wackiest. There's no way I could get 1 million people to pray and fast for Israel. Guess what? I just talked to him on the phone. He has over 1 million people signed up to pray and fast for 21 days. And this is the unique thing about it. It's May 7th to May 28th. Anyone know what happens on May 28th? Pentecost. And simultaneous to him calling that fast, we had a day of prayer and fasting in our ministry. But we had 3 focuses that I'm calling everyone that sees this video or those here in person to be open to God calling you to be part of Team Glory. Here's the 3 things we prayed and fasted for. It's only 3. And by the way, the fast is optional. It could be TV. It could be computers. It could be a Daniel fast. Whatever God shows you. The prayer is imperative. The fasting, if you're someone that fasts, you may want to do the full fast. But you can be part of this without fasting. Here are the 3 things that we pray for. Wait till you hear the repercussions of these 3 things. The first is we pray mostly in tongues. We worship God, but we pray mostly in tongues. Why? Because when you pray in tongues, you're praying perfect prayers with perfect faith, exactly what God wants for the time in your life. It'd be kind of stupid not to do that. Your brain doesn't know exactly what God wants, and your brain, no matter how much you've meditated on the word, doesn't have as much faith as the Holy Spirit within you speaking those prayers. So when you're praying with 100% faith, because it's 100% of what God wants, you're doing something good, something very good. It's like when God created the earth, he said everything he creates is good. It's good. But then at the end, he looked over what he did. He said, I have to say it myself. It's very good. Not just good, very good. That's the first thing. Pray mostly in tongues. Second, pray Romans 11:26. Very important. Did you know until this happens, even Jesus can't return? All Israel shall be saved. All Israel. There's no other people group in the world that God says all Israel, all of these people will be saved. Of course, my concern is the ones that die before that date, because there's no distinction. There's no other name given unto man in which we must be saved. So, number 1, worship and pray in tongues. Number 2, pray Romans 11:26. And so all Israel will be saved. It doesn't say might be saved, will be saved. And then the third, just as important, because this is how all Israel will be saved. This is what God says in Exodus 33:18. We pray the prayer of Moses. And Moses said, show me your glory. Show me your glory. There is an evangelistic glory coming on planet Earth. The devil thinks he's won. God's ready. God hasn't even made his move yet. God is ready to make his best move. Whereas in the natural, it looks like America and most of the nations of the world are going down the tubes. They need to be turned upside down. One more time, this world has to be turned upside down again because it's the wrong side up. Way beyond logic and reason and common sense. Way too quickly. Anyone that says they don't believe in the devil, just look what happened to the world in our lifetime. And the greatest nation in the world is about ready to become a third-rate nation, except 1 million people are going to be praying, Lord, show me the glory. Lord, all Israel shall be saved. Because when you pray that, you bump into the glory. Now, I saw something, and most people have over all the Jewish people that were shortly, every elderly Jew, every young Jew, every baby was going to be murdered. But Esther had favor with the king. Esther is a type of the end time church. The church has favor with the king. Now, the other was a Gentile, not even part of God's family, Ruth. And Ruth 1:16 says, but Ruth said, when she was urged by Naomi, her mother-in-law, go back to your people. This is what Ruth said. Do not urge me to leave you or to turn back from following you. For wherever you go, she knew about the blessings in Genesis 12:3. Do you know what God promises? Those that bless the Jewish people, I will bless. I have found even the law of evangelism. When I go to the Jew first, it opens up a supernatural door to reach more Gentiles than if I went to the Gentile first. Whatever you do, now, what's the greatest blessing to a Jewish person? Humanitarian work. We do a lot of humanitarian work in it.
Okay. Anybody see anything wrong with that in the comments?
Speaking in tongues? I'm not understanding that part.
Yeah, ain't no understanding. Yeah, it's a hogwash. Yeah, anybody else got anything on that?
Yeah, I mean, I love how where you be finding these videos at?
Yeah. Okay.
You know, I mean, how they have a awesome way of trying to use these types of scriptures to confuse people in believing who the Jew is.
Right. Exactly.
In order for them to receive any type of blessing.
Right.
You know, so I mean so he went from talking in tongues to go and speak on Ruth's situation.
Right. Exactly.
And what that was all about.
Right.
You know, it's amazing how they could use the book to promote a lot of confusing doctrines on people, man.
And if you never break through and try to get the understanding, you're gonna just forever be going. You ever just, they just dragging you along. You have no idea. Yeah. I mean, first of all, you sit there and you're looking at it. He promoting the false God. Then you turn around and he's promoting the false people. How you gonna win? Talk about a shot. That's what you finna get. You finna get a shot. When this thing come to a head, you really finna get a shot. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. So
That, excuse me. That gentleman sounded like Sid Roth. Was that
yeah,
him?
that was him. Yeah, that was him. He a Jew. Okay. So we're gonna open up for some Q&A. Anybody got any questions or comments about anything we discussed or that you watched? You want to talk about?
Yes, sir. Yesterday we were speaking on the Tower of Babylon, and then we also was talking about how Cain and the melon was without him and his curse. And then I was trying to think about the time limit. I mean, the time zone, what time that was, and was it the same time that the people were mixing with the angels and angels were mixing with the animals and things? How did they look? Were they still there, like giants? And is that the time they all were looking different? I mean, not like us right now in our height and what have you, but how was that?
Yeah, yes, that's like um it's like I'm thinking maybe at least 1,000 years or so between when Cain, what happened in the garden, and then what happened in Genesis 6. Because if you go back dealing with the book of Jasher and Jubilees, you'll see that uh, Adam had just died. Adam was still alive, and how you gauge that time frame is, he says, when he gave Adam that commandment in the garden, he told him, the day that you go against these commandments, or the day that you go against me, is the same day that you're going to die. Well, 1,000 years is one day with him. So we see that Methuselah, the oldest man that lived the longest, was 965 years. And so you look at when Enoch born, Adam's still alive because of the time, for how long they lived. So when you able to put all that together is in Jasher, when right before the flood, he said he didn't want them to see the flood. He didn't want them to see the chaos that he was bringing. So he calls all them. He brought all them up to him, except it was Methuselah. They have you thinking that when they was prophesying, when they was talking to the people, telling them about what's getting ready to happen, that it was just Noah, but it was Lamech, Methuselah, and Noah that preached to the people for 120 years. And then right before the flood, he took all of them.
Yes, sir.
They gathered their cross.
Yes, sir. Also, I was thinking in the city of Enoch, we
Right.
have two Enochs. Within that city, and it was the worst, were there the people and beings, I guess, how were they looking? That's my thing. They had so much going on wherein they had to be pushed out of their, out of the Israel. And so how did they, I mean, those were monstrous looking people or monstrous looking
No,
things?
they was humans. They was humans. They when they appear to us, they appear as humans. It's like I was saying, when they started going into those animals. Now you have to. I mean, they really don't. When I found out about it, you type it in, and it's not really that much information on it. I had to keep on searching, and then I started coming up with the information. But they called Ojo was those giants. That's a different type of giant. That's the ones they had. I don't know how much research you've done on this, but they got skeletons of men or giants, whatever you want to call them. They got like even those Vikings. Some of them had double rows of teeth, and so that was from interbreed with these animals. It was they was all crossbred. All over. They called those are the ones that was cannibals, that was eating people. And you even had like I said, it's tied to the Amorites, because yes, when he mentioned that to Abraham about the time of the Amorites, a lot of people don't understand it, the depth of that. So you got that you got the Ejo, yeah, that's what it is. It's Eljo, Eljo. And then so anyway, you got those certain type of beings, like in Jasher, I think it's what his name? It's Esau's son.
Tyree?
No, let me get it. Let me look at it right quick. Get tricky, let me go to Genesis 36 right quick. Zephno, that's his name. Zephno. Yeah, Zephno wrestled he came across a beast with a half from his body, from his waist down he was like an animal, and from his waist up he was looked like a man, and he was eating the sheep, killing the people's sheep, and Zephno ran up on him and slew him. So you know that Zephno was a man of great stature too. He is sin because Esau was marrying these, which is what people not putting together. Esau was marrying these. He married those. There was giant women from Mount Seir, those Horites, and he did that for a reason. He wanted mighty men for sons. So Zephno, Amalek, they are they giants because they got their mother's DNA in them. So Zephno slew one of these things because so that let you know what Zephno was. Zephno wasn't nothing to play with.
Yes, sir, because he could run fast. He was really, really, I read about him. Yes, sir. Really strong.
Even Nimrod. Like I was saying, when you see Nazarene, that's got the IM on the end of it. So Ham got 4 sons. Put, Canaan, Cush, and Mazarine. Mazarine and Egyptian is the same people. So that these people are stature, tall. So he says, my children often journeyed into Egypt, and the Egyptians, the Mazarine, oppressed them, because that's one of the major features from these giants. They're oppressive. They oppress people. And that's why the Most High, this verse right here, I read it a lot, but I don't know if it's registering or whatever. But in 2 Samuel, go to 2 Samuel right quick, and you'll see what I'm talking about. He says, and then the reason I'm showing you is to get the visual in your head on what's being said, what's being conveyed. He says, 2 Samuel. Chapter 7. I know what's going on. Can you hear? Checking Samuel, I think it's 7. I mean, for some reason, here you go. Okay. 2 Samuel.
7:17. The 2 Samuel.
Let me get it right quick. chapter 7 and verse 10. Says, moreover, I will appoint a place for my people Israel, and I will plant them that they may dwell in a place of their own and move no more. Neither shall the children of wickedness afflict them anymore at beforehime. That's what he's talking about. So Egyptians, Mizraim afflicted them before. Yeah. And so I see right here, this brother, somebody got Joshua 61:15. Read that too. (61:15). Okay. Yeah, 61:15 says, yeah, this I got it marked right here. It says, and Zephaniah went up and he saw, and behold, there was a large cave at the bottom of the mountain, and there was a great stone there at the entrance of the cave. And Zephaniah split the stone and came into the cave and looked, and behold, a large animal was devouring an ox. And from the middle upward, it resembled a man, and from the middle downward, it resembled an animal. And Zephaniah rose up against the animal, slew it with his sword. So we see right here, like I said, for Zephaniah to be able to do that, you know, he wasn't no joke. So yeah. And like I was saying, you know, people read over that, but that's what he's talking about in 2 Samuel when he said the children of wickedness. That's not from a Christian perspective where, oh, people do good and then some do bad. No, they came from wickedness when the serpent slept with Eve and got Cain. These angels came down. Them are the children of wickedness. They ain't gonna never do right because of how they came about, how they came into existence. They're wicked as hell. Like I said, all you have to do is look at what happened with the transatlantic slave trade. Who would do something like that? That horrendous. Right there, but you know, they gave us a whole nother take on how to deal with that. But that's what he's talking about. People wicked as hell, they're gonna continue to do that. Like you gotta look at Cain. Where'd that come from? Why would you kill you first the Most High looked at all his creation and said it was good. And Cain come out, the first thing he do, kill his brother. Something going on. He's serpent. He came from the serpent. He will never do right. And then even when you got the Lord of hosts standing there communing with you, and then but your countenance change. Come on. Like I said, we're not looking at it like we're supposed to, the right way. Because they trick you off to some old nice understanding of it when it's wicked as hell. The whole situation. Okay. Anything else? Anybody got anything else? You got a question or comment? Okay, yeah, I don't know if anybody know this. It's just a little extra. But they tried to assassinate Putin.
It's a bombshell headline from Russia. An alleged assassination attempt on Vladimir Putin. The culprit? According to the Kremlin, it's Ukraine. The Russians have already put their bombers on alert. Explosions are being heard in Ukraine's Kherson. It's all very confusing and uncertain right now. So first, let's hear the Russian version of events. The assassination bid is said to have happened last night. 2 drones were used to strike Putin's residence inside the Kremlin compound. Russia says the attack was repelled. Remember, the Kremlin is one of the most secure buildings in the world. Its electronic defense apparently disabled the drones. Is there any evidence for this? So far, there isn't. Nothing concrete. All we have is this video being circulated on Russian social media. It shows a flying device heading towards the Kremlin. But as it gets near, it bursts into flames. Could this be a Ukrainian drone? Ukraine says absolutely not. They claim to have no knowledge about the attack. Listen to this.
Sure. Regarding drones over Kremlin, everything is pretty transparent and clear, but I will talk about it anyway. First of all, Ukraine undoubtedly has nothing to do with it because there is no military value in such actions.
President Zelensky is not in Kiev today. He's in Finland for a summit with Nordic countries. Ukraine's ally, the US, is also saying the same. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says he would take anything coming out of Russia with a huge shaker of salt. As for these videos, they're not verified. As of today, they're just claims from Moscow, and that's the tricky part. It's hard to verify things in a war. It's one version versus another. Let me quote Russia's official statement. 2 unmanned aerial vehicles were aimed at the Kremlin as a result of timely actions taken by the military and special services with the use of radar warfare systems. The devices were put out of action. The Russian side reserves the right to take retaliatory measures where and when it sees fit. Where was Putin when the attack happened? Not at the Kremlin. He was working from his residence outside Moscow. Russia says fragments of the drone fell near the Kremlin. There were no injuries or casualties. Moscow is also linking the attack to Victory Day. It's celebrated on the 9th of May. It marks the Soviet Union's victory over Nazi Germany. So lots of claims from Russia. The question is, what do we make of them? At first glance, it does seem far-fetched. For starters, just look at the video. Does that look like a lethal drone trying to kill the president? It's gently floating towards the Kremlin, almost waiting to be blown up. Nonetheless, let's look at the 2 possibilities here. Either Ukraine did it or it did not. Possibility number 1, Ukraine did try to kill President Putin. They keep saying that ordinary Russians are against the invasion. So if you take Putin out, perhaps the war ends, like cutting off the snake's head. The second possibility is this: Russia is bluffing. An attack on President Putin is an excuse to escalate. In fact, Moscow has already warned of it. Their statement says Russia reserves the right to take retaliatory action. And remember, alleged assassination plots are not new for President Putin. Reports say he has survived 5 attempts. None of them has been officially confirmed by governments. Many critics also dismiss it as propaganda, as an attempt.
Okay. Any comments on that? Anybody know anything about that?
Yeah, I watched those. I watched those videos. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, so I seen this video on, I think it was on TikTok or something, but it's information that I already knew, but the way they put it together, it was a collage of information dealing with that. So if you go back to 99,
right,
the video is showing what Zelensky was doing versus what Putin was doing. So in 99,
right,
Zelensky was making music videos, you know,
right,
with the same energy and spirit that guy Sam Smith has today. Y'all seen it?
right.
Anybody seen this? You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
and they kept going, huh? Say again?
No, just saying. Yep, I heard him. I saw him.
All right, yeah. So you know they're showing the video was about showing what Zelensky comes from. So when Zelensky was making music videos in 99, that was the year that Putin became a Secret Service agent for the KGB. And it kept going on. Like, so while Zelensky had a TV show, Putin was conquering Georgia at that time. So it was showing the timeline and the sophistication and the seriousness in comparison to each other. So it was showing you what Putin was and what Zelensky was. You know, he is a clown. He's a shill. So if it says that, if it's telling you that Ukraine sent a drone to assassinate Putin, it's not Zelensky. You know what I mean? It's the U.S. So this is what they're really saying to you, is that the U.S. sent the drone to assassinate him, and he knows it, and that's the whole idea. So for us, if we use that information to today, and then we look at, say, for instance, our Messiah, right?
Right.
David, he was groomed to be the Messiah over Israel from the time he was a youth.
Right.
So look at so Saul was a clown, right? So look at the comparison. So they're showing you what Zelensky comes from and what he's about versus what Putin has always been about from day one. And this is what
Right.
that, you know what I mean? But the mass media that runs everything and how you believe in that, you know, Russia is being defeated in certain ways, and the Zelensky regime is overpowering everything. That's far from the case of what's really going on. It's far from it. Putin is a trained military-minded man.
Right.
And Zelensky has been a clown his whole life that they put into office.
Right.
Same way they do, like, look at Ronald Reagan. This dude was an actor.
Right.
So, they're all actors. They're all shills, while them people over there, they've been about business. China, they still honor what they were 5,000 years ago.
Right.
They're not playing games. They're not concerned with what entertains you or what you think or feel is what it's supposed to be. These are ancient people that we're dealing with.
Right.
Yeah, that's all rhetoric, man. That's all nonsense.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So looking at it, another thing about that too is when you understand that the real prophecy is that we go to second Ezra, and he tells you that okay, hold up. So he tells you that he was saying when he's describing the eagle, four beasts, he tells you that two of the wings, the last two wings are gonna reserve for the end. That's Russia and China. So when you look at that, and then you go back to past prophecies that already happened, Nebuchadnezzar, we see in the book of Judith that Nebuchadnezzar was a nobody. And they had this little makeshift country, a little king, had that many soldiers, and he sent letters out because he was getting ready to fight against the Syrian army, right? And a lot of people don't understand the Syrian army, how powerful it was, because it's not included in the four beasts. And the reason why is because when Daniel had the dream of the four beasts, it was after Israel became a nation. That's why Assyria is not included in that. But anyway, Nebuchadnezzar was a nobody, but it's a prophecy. It's a prophecy on Nebuchadnezzar. So my point is this: you can't kill Nebuchadnezzar. You got prophecy on him. You got to fulfill. So Cyrus, you can't kill Cyrus. The Most High, the Lord hosts with him. He's part of prophecy. Well, Putin is part of prophecy. It's got to come to pass. So that's, you already know it's garbage right there. He's gonna do what the Most High said he's gonna do.
Right.
Yeah. So he part of prophecy. Like I was saying, you be sitting there with your mouth wide open if Jeremiah said a scourge from the north is coming. Talk about Nebuchadnezzar. Well, nobody gonna stop that. Nebuchadnezzar was coming, not his cousin or his brother. He said Nebuchadnezzar coming. So there's nothing nobody gonna do until that's fulfilled.
Right.
Yeah. And then he also said, say go to Babylon, that good basket of figs, go to Babylon and serve Nebuchadnezzar and his son and his grandson. Ain't nobody gonna break that. Ain't nobody gonna stop that. It's gonna happen.
That's what happened.
Right.
It's ill that you said that. 'Cause I was just reading in that book, the dealing with like Bel and the Dragon and things, to understand what took place with Cyrus, for him to understand why he should, believe in what Daniel was talking about. So I guess that was a whole segue to when, he said, saying the God of everything has commanded me to build the house of Israel back because of what took place, because he thought Baal was eating, I guess, the offerings, and Daniel laughed at him. And they had that conversation, and he was like, all right, well, I'm gonna put this food back in front of this idol, And if the idol eats it, then I'm gonna kill Daniel, and if the idol doesn't, I'm gonna kill you, priest. And then they had a secret passage into the temple,
Right.
and he showed them that it was the priest, his wife, and his children that was eating it, and Cyrus killed his whole family and things of that nature. So it's like, when you read in that, you get the gist of why he eventually went with what Daniel was talking about.
Right. Right. Because Daniel exposed, how many generations that have been doing that, coming through that secret passageway eating the food.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So Daniel exposed
Right.
generations of lies. So and so that's my point now. Like I said, when you have somebody pop up and then come into one of these classes and started putting all these comments in the sidelines, all because you not dealing with the New Testament, and they feeling a certain type of way. So the thing is the thing about that is, look at that situation. Look how many generations people have been dealing with that situation. It was a false god, and Daniel exposed it. So same way now, you flipping and dipping and looking crazy, but you dealing with a false god. And so for me to respond or react to,
Right.
you know what I mean? It's trivial, man. You dealing with a false god.
Right.
No matter how you feel about it, like you talk about speaking in tongues. Who the hell you speaking to? You're speaking to Yahweh.
Right. And that's the crazy thing, because the intellect for them to understand what that whole shit was talking, excuse my language, what that was all talking about when it came to speaking in tongues. It's like, how y'all missed that?
Right.
It wasn't talking about speaking in tongues as if you was talking foolishness. It was talking about as if you was in the UN and you had like a headset on. Those fiery tongues next to your ears was supposed to be a headset. So while these other nations are speaking in tongues, you were supposed to be able to understand what was being said. But these fools, so when we laugh at that, there's something wrong with us. So the same way Daniel's laughed at Cyrus, because Cyrus really thought that this thing made of clay was eating. Right. Oh, they had to look at Daniel like he was crazy.
Right.
But he was like, this thing is made of clay. It's made of hands, How is it eating anything?
Exactly.
So if I was to even break it down for you, who the so-called Christian who want to say all that nonsense, that's not what Acts, whatever that chapter was, but it's in the book of Acts. That ain't even what it was saying.
Right.
Like y'all don't even get what you say you worship or what you say you study is saying. That's not what it's saying.
Exactly. Right. And that's all over the place. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. Where we stopped at? Genesis what? Last week. Anybody know where we stopped at?
We were in 11, yes.
Chapter 11? I read chapter 11, right?
You started to, but I don't think you got into it because we got in something else.
Okay. 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 So I'm in Genesis chapter 11. It says, and the whole earth was one tongue, one language, and one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain and a land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. And they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower whose top reach under heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the earth, or the whole earth. So right there, that chapter 4 right there, chapter 11, verse 4, Now, if you go back with the understanding of what was going on in the city of Enoch, and what we was dealing with, so it says, and they said, go to, let us build a city. Ain't that what Cain did? Ain't that what Cain went and built a city and named the first city, named it after his son Enoch?
Right.
And then he dealing with the fallen, he dealing with these angels. So what is it? So they build this ziggurat inside the city, and he says to reach out of heaven, that's where they can come down, ascend from heaven on this building, and then come down the stairs into the city.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they was doing.
Hey Leonard, so is not to cut you though, is that what they call like them folk, like that movie called Stargate?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So that's what they was building, like on top of that, like that understanding of how they could move back and forth. So they wanted to build something like that so they could transcend, so to speak, and not be, and not get do what they want to do and not be flooded like happened before.
Right, exactly. But they wanted them, they was welcoming them in by building a ziggurat. They giving them a way to ascend, something to ascend down on. So like over in, we see over in Mesoamerica, over the area, those pyramids, but at the very top of them pyramids, they platforms.
Right.
Then they got these stairs coming down. So they had those platforms for them to ascend on. Then from there they come down into the city, and the actual platform is within the city. They ascend on and come down into the city, and we see all that was going on in the city of Enoch, and it's all right here in verse 4. It says, they said, "Go to, let us build a city and a tower." See that? The tower is in the city, inside the city, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men building. So let's go in on that, because I want to show you something. So we're gonna go to fast forward to, I read this yesterday, but we're gonna go back to it. It's in Jacob's Ladder, 28. Okay, at Bethel, right? So the Most High got portals, because they building these cities with these platforms for them to come down on. So let's look at it. It says, Genesis 28:10. Jacob went out from the Bathsheba and went toward Haran, and he lit upon a certain place and tarried there all night, because the sun was set. And he took of the stones of the place and put them for his pillow, and lay down in that place and slept. Then verse 12, and he dreamed, and behold, a ladder was set upon the earth. See that? Upon the earth. So it's ascending under heaven, right? It's from heaven to earth. It's a ladder, right? A ladder set upon the earth, and the top reached unto heaven. Same thing they said over there. Say, and behold, the angels of God ascended and descended. Well, here go the trick. And behold, the Lord stood above it and said, I am the Lord God of Israel, of Abraham thy father, and of the God of Isaac, and the land wherein thou liest, to thee will I give it. So he's regulating. He's at the top of the ladder. He's regulating who's coming down and who's going up. So look, let's go back over here. And we see that it says in verse 4, and they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower, right? Whose top may reach unto heaven. Same thing we read. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. So right here we go. Same Lord over there. That's regulating who coming down, who going up, right? He says, and the Lord came down to see the city. So he come to see what y'all doing. I'm over here. I'm doing everything over here, regulating it. Now y'all, you can concoct something else over here. So he can't go see what was up. So it says, and the Lord came down to see the city and the tower. See that? Which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and they begin to do. This is what they begin to do, right? And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. So it's no different, like I was telling you, it's no different right here than what Adam did. He showed up after Adam did what he did. Cain showed up looking for Adam. And Adam hid right here. He showed up to check out the tower and the city. Right? So, and this ain't Yahweh. Anyway, so verse 7 says, go to, let us go down and there confound their languages, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of the whole earth, and they left off from building the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the languages of all the earth, and from this did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of the whole earth. Okay, so like I was saying before, another thing about that is eluding a lot of people too is I was telling you, Nimrod is looking for a certain place, Shinar. Those fallen angels and those giants before the flood had engraved a bunch of information on stone, and that's what Nimrod was looking for. And so he found it in the land of Shinar. On how to build that, how to do that. So when he did it, we see right here what he done. The Lord showed up in verse 8, and the Lord scattered them abroad from that place, from thence upon the face of the earth, and they left off from building the city. Therefore it is the name of it called Babel, because the Lord did there confound the languages of all the earth, and from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad upon the face of the earth. From Shinar. Okay? Yeah. So verse 10 says, these are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old, and he begot Arphaxad 2 years after the flood. And Shem lived after he begot Arphaxad 500 years. And he begot sons and daughters. And Arphaxad lived 5 and 30 years, and he begot Selah. And I'm butchering his name. Arphaxad lived after he begot Selah 403 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And Selah lived 30 years and begot Eber, right? And Selah lived after he begot Eber 403 years, and he begot sons and daughters. Eber, that's where the word Hebrew comes from, for those that don't know. Eber lived 430 years, and he begot Peleg. And Peleg lived after he begot and Eber lived after he begot Peleg 430 years, and he begot sons and daughters. Peleg lived 30 years and begot Ru. And Peleg lived after he begot Ru 209 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And Ru lived 230 years and begot Serah. And Ru lived after he begot Serah 270 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And Serah lived 30 years and begot Nahor. And Sarah lived after he begot Nahor 200 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And Nahor lived 9 and 20 years, and he begot Terah. And Nahor lived after he begot Terah 119 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And Terah lived 70 years, and he begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. So we see right there, that's the descendants of Shem. So one of the things I want to shine a light on was, I keep telling you over and over again how they butchered the scriptures. That's what the Christian and the average person can't understand how much they butchered our scriptures. I mean, you got to imagine, look at all the wealth of information we got out of these lost books that you never would have had if you hadn't read it. And that ain't all of it. And my example of that is right here, verse 22. You never hear about this guy right here, Shira, whatever his name, lived 30 and 5. So he in between Shem, he in between Shem and Nahor. We know. I mean Terah. We know Terah. We know Terah is that was Abraham's father. But we don't know all these men was righteous men. They wrote books. They played a role in our history. So you never hear nothing about cereal. So the first thing I would do, I'll go Google it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's something going on with him. The reason why it ain't right. They ain't we ain't heard nothing about it. It's like the other day I was telling you about the prophets that was around David, Nathan, and Gad. You know, you don't hear nothing about Gad.
Right.
You know, yeah, Gad had to have something to say, but they don't want you to know what Gad had to say. Right.
That's what I mean. Like so that's what I'm saying. So if I even go to like 12, verse 12, right? 11 and 12, it was like our fact said lived right 5 and 30 years and begot Salah. So let's look at that word, Salah, or that name, Salah. So people speak about, you know what I'm saying, Selah and things of that nature. Like what does Selah mean? Or Salah. So in for instance, like y'all was speaking this the other day, the Y that was the I, right? Or the I that turned into the Y, or the J that turned into the I, and things of that nature. So where does the word Selah come from? And you know what I mean? And just to think about that, or even go back to 11, verse 11, and Shem lived after he begot Arphaxad, right? So 10 says that these are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begot Arphaxad. Well, who did he beget before that? Anyway, and then 2 years, this is 2 years after the flood. And then Shem lived after he begot Arphaxad 500 years. The interesting thing about it is it never said he died. It just said he lived 500 years and begot sons and daughters.
Right.
So if a person was to ever be like, well, who is the Melchizedek? Okay. These are the ways that they so your perception is to be like, yo, he lived 500 years and he died. But it said he lived 500 years and begot sons and daughters. It didn't say what happened to him. So we got scriptures, right? We could go back and it tells us that a certain lived a certain amount of years and he died. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say that.
Right.
Doesn't say that he died. You know what I'm saying? So such and so lived and then he died. Right? Such and so lived, got sons and daughters, continued on. That's what I'm trying to look for now, because I know we done read it. Or y'all done read it early on, and then it says then they died. But it just says right here that Shem lived and begot sons and daughters.
Right.
It never says that he died.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking in chapter 5. Because the same thing happened. It's before the flood, and the same thing we reading right there is after the flood. So it says, verse 4, 5, and verse 4. The days of Adam after he begot Seth were 800 years, and he begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Adam lived were 930 years, and he died.
Right.
So we don't say that over there.
It don't say that. You see what I'm saying? It don't say that. So for us to now ever be like, yo, he was a Melchizedek, because, so the other books would tell us that, yo, who did Abram go to? You see what I'm saying? So is it in Jasher?
Yeah, it's in Jasher.
It's in Jasher. So that tells us he went to the Melchizedek. He went to Shem. So once we get over here in 11, in 11, it just says, yo, he's 500 years and begot sons and daughters. Never says he died.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, so if you go to Jasher, that's chapter 9, When the story of Abraham, Abraham. Let me see. Yeah, chapter 8 says
Hold
that.
up.
Let me get it. Yeah. So chapter 9. I'm gonna start reading at verse 1. It says, and Haran, the son of Terah, Abraham's oldest brother, took a wife in those days, and Haran was 39 years old when he took her, and the wife of Haran conceived and bore a son, called his name Lot. And she again bore a daughter, and she called her name Milcah. And she again conceived and bore a daughter, and called her name Sarah. Haran was 42 years old when he begot Sarah, which was in the 10th year of the life of Abram. And in those days, Abram and his mother and nurse went out from the cave, as the king and his subjects had forgotten the affair of Abram. Here we go right here. This says, and when Abraham came out from the cave, he went to Noah and his son Shem. So that's my point. So go back to Genesis chapter 10, chapter 11, verse 10.
Right.
They started with Shem. Noah there, though.
Noah there.
Noah there. They're not starting with Noah, they're starting with Shem. So, like I was saying before, when you understand that, you can see all this being left out because it's trivial to them, because all they're doing leading into the New Testament. So they're not, they took out the purpose of what the Most High had the prophets to write it down for, was for us now. Children that seeking him with zeal, and they reading this thing. And so they can put a gloss over and lead you in a whole other direction. So
yes, sir.
He ain't already told right there, because Noah ain't mentioned. Somebody say something?
Yes, sir. Also, when you was talking about Melchizedek, he's like the priesthood forever. And if you go to Psalms 110, verse 4,
right.
It says, the Lord has sworn and will not relent. You are a priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek. And Melchizedek is the king of Salem and the priest of God's Most High, blessed Abraham after the rescue of Lot.
Yeah, that's
and we
Shem.
and we can go to Genesis 14, 18, 20. It goes on, but yet you're right. It doesn't tell you that he's passed. Forever means forever. That means there's no end.
If we do the math, like what Brother Leonard just said, Noah was there. So who is the Melchizedek?
Noah is Melchizedek.
Noah. So now Shem is of his seed. So therefore, that's where that line passed on.
Right. When we read right here in Jasher, when Abraham was 10 years old, and when he came out of the cave, him and his mother, they went to live with Shem, Ham, and Eber. Eber alive too. So there was years later. Abraham was 10 years old. Years later, that's Shem. Shem didn't assume the title. Noah dead. That's Shem that showed up in Genesis 15, 14, wherever that was. So Noah done passed, and Shem is Melchizedek now, because it's a title.
Right, and that's what they won't let that be understood. So what I'm saying. So it's like you just brought out in the book of Joshua, Noah was there. Why would Noah be the Melchizedek from day one? Yo, he's the one who brought everything onto that side. I know my shit is so. He brought everything onto this side of the flood, and then Shem carries on the same understanding. So he be in that time the modern, Melchizedek, who Abraham is bringing a tenth of everything to. Is that what you said? Because I was in the matrix in this, and that's weird.
Right. So it means, like I said, it was, I got to keep on going with the other lie about Shem, Ham, and Japheth, Noah's sons. They ain't none of his sons. So who supposed to be the eldest out of them boys? Who the oldest?
Shem.
Well, they say Japheth the elder. You never read that? Japheth the elder. So
No,
yeah, it's always mentioned in there. Japheth the elder. So anyway, how is Shem how is being passed to Shem? When in the Hebrew culture you deal by the firstborn, passed on. So right there we see they ain't no brothers. Noah had a son called Shem, and he took him on the boat. He told him to get a male and a female from all flesh. You got Cain descendants. Then you got the 6th-day man, which is Ham, that he created in Genesis 1:26, a male and a female. He had to get he gonna get a male and a female from all the animals, but don't get a male and female from all the men, all mankind. No, he had to get a male and a female from all flesh. And like I said, we see what I just showed you in I showed you in 2 Samuel. He said, neither are the children of wickedness.
Mm-hmm.
This is how they came about. So what happened to Noah after the flood? He got violated by who? The children of wickedness.
Mm-hmm.
Japheth.
Mm-hmm.
And the product of that encounter was Canaan.
Mm.
He cursed him in the womb. Now go look at it in Jubilees. He said, don't mix with the Gentiles, and we see he telling them don't mix with the Canaanites.
Mm-hmm.
Killing the Canaanites. He killing the Canaanites. How they some kin to Israel?
Right.
Lord killing them. He killing the Gentiles. So all this lies.
So another lie. So the Canaanite, right? So when they talk about this, the Nimrod, yeah, that's Canaanite.
Right. Exactly.
But they got people believing that's Ham.
Right. But this is the trick. We know that those 200 angels came through the portal that we just read about that Jacob saw.
Mm-hmm.
And then they came in through that portal. But then they went from there to Mount Hermon, the summit. Like I was saying, that's what these ziggurats is. They're just making a man-made summit inside the city. But these angels was coming down on the summit that's on Mount Hermon. And they made a pact there on Mount Hermon. And from there they went to Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
Took the wives. Mezarine. Yeah. So he is out of Ham. He is out of Ham, but he's a mutation. He bred with a Hamite woman, but the father is an angelic being. Right. And so
man, that's deep.
Right. So another way you rightly divide that too was when I'm saying, a lot of people ain't heard this before, but you got 6-day man. When Israel went to Egypt, Mezarine. See that? So these people were subject to Israelites until the 200 angels came. The 200 angels took them away from the Most High, and from under they servitude to Israel, to Adam's seed. So when Lord of Hosts came and freed them, didn't the remnant follow? That's the mixed multitude. It's an invasive species in Egypt. So when they got the opportunity to leave, they left with the original people that they were dealing with, which was Adam's descendants. When they left, they followed them out. They didn't want to stay there before. It was the Egyptian, like I said, it was an invasive species that came because these fallen angels came and started giants all over the place. Egypt was called the land of the giants.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So that's how I'm looking. So now, if we do the math, it always says that you're dealing with his story, right?
Right.
So they've been stressing to us that Mizraim is, what I'm saying, a child of Ham.
Right.
Is it? You see what I'm saying? Is it? You know what I mean? That's the question
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
asking. You know what I'm saying? Is it though? Is it really? So since they done
No,
got hold of, huh?
no, he not.
That's what I mean. You see what I'm saying? So, but if the nature of these people, the nature of this, so so this is why I think like, God, I can't remember that man's name. Um, he is the most prominent so-called quote unquote Egyptologist. And
And he out.
yeah, that dude. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, yo, he works for the Smithsonian and things of that nature to keep people, what I'm saying, in an understanding of to what their nature is, that these so-called Egyptians were, and their nature of why was it so comfortable, right? For the Macedonian to go and connect with whatever they considered Egypt. It had to be there was a connection because
Right.
that's their bloodline, that's their people. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So, I look at it and be like, yo, that's Japhetic. You know what I'm saying? That's Japhetic. So we could look at all the other nations that are Ham and like, yo, they're not what these people were
Right.
at all. You know what I'm saying? So this Mizraim that they put in the so-called you know what I'm saying, the dictionary Bible, and say, oh, yo, Ham is a progenitor of Egypt. Yo, it doesn't add up to say that, yo, he was a progenitor of them. These people are, yo, that Egyptian shit is on something so different from what, I'm saying, Ham are. Like, so I can still look at like so-called Hamitic people and say, okay, the Dogon who they've been studying, I guess, Sirius, the Dog Star, and things like that, and they have that connection. But that Egyptian culture is something so far-fetched to say that it's a Hamitic perception, and everything that Joseph had to go through and deal with and conquer, and that they were always, saying something that was questionable when it comes to just Ham. Am I
Well,
off or what?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You mean you on point, but my thing is connected to the scriptures, because you got so many people want to say, oh, where you getting this from? So, you ever seen the movie 10,000 BC?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when the movie was coming on, they were showing how they was living up way up in these snowy mountains, and which is Cain descendants, because he said the earth ain't gonna give him nothing. That's why he in the cold. The earth ain't giving him nothing. So anyways, they came out of those mountains and they came to where the tropical areas was at, where the blacks was at, and they seen seeds and all this stuff. But so eventually, the reason they came out of the mountains is because it was a annual rotation that those mammals was going every year, and they be waiting on them when they come to around where they at, but they stopped coming. And so they started starving. People up in the mountains started starving because that rotation that normally happens, that cycle that happens when those mammals come through there, they'll capture a couple of them and they get enough food to eat. So when they went down into the tropical areas in the Egypt, they seen what had happened. They subjugated those mammals and had them working for them, pulling those stones and all that. That's why they had stopped coming. But the thing with the trick to it was, I don't know how much you was watching it well, but remember it was 3 giants that had the head covered. Remember that?
No, I can't.
Three
Can't say.
giants. 3 giants came. these giants was showing them was the ones that built Egypt up. They were taking all that the creator Yahweh had made and was using it. And what they was doing, their whole thing was focusing on the stars.
Mm-hmm.
They dealing with the stars. And then they were showing you, but they weren't showing you in a way where they was giants, but they were showing how the regular people in the area didn't look like them. These three giants were breeding with people, and they had a whole race of people that looked like them, but everybody else, other people wasn't like them, looked like them. They had their own people that they had bred with. That was around them. You know what I'm saying? Like they officers and and the people that did stuff for them. They was mixed like they looked just like them. But anyway, go to which that's the same region, all that area, Canaan and Egypt and all that giants all over that whole region. So when you look at that, you say, when Joshua and them sent the spies out, what did they see? They saw three giants. Who?
Right.
Sons of Anak. Right?
Right.
And then you go to Egypt, right here. And like I said,
this is what I'm saying though.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
This is what I'm stressing, like, because you know what I'm saying? Like we always stress, ain't nothing new under the sun, right?
Right.
Is what we stress. So if I go back to Genesis chapter 4, right now, you'll work with me on this. So I'm gonna go back to Genesis chapter 4, and I'm gonna start at verse 3. Right? We ain't gotta read those other two. Actually, hold on. Yeah, we ain't gotta read those other two. We'll read 3, right? And it says, and in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. So check out what it says, in the process of time. Peep that, right? It came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. 4, and Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. But unto Cain and his offering, process of time, remember that. Verse 5, but unto Cain and to his offering he had no respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, why art thou wroth? And why is thou countenance fallen? Verse 7 is the illest part right here. If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire. What does that mean, right? His desire, and thou shalt rule over him. So, process of time, that's the most interesting part. So, through a process of time, Cain was making sure he was securing his seed. So it's the same thing that's going on with this Japhetic or this Gentile people today. They're doing their best to secure their seed in everything that they do. So that's why I stress that this whole Mizraim, this is why it was so easy for if we look at these folks, Cleopatra, Mark Antony, all of them to go to Egypt to figure out, you know what I'm saying, what is the process of dominion and control of people. It's through the process of time. that they was doing based off of their forefathers. Am I wrong? All right.
Well, the process of time is 12 years. They were born, and then the process of time, when they became 12, they had to bring offerings. The same way when he came to Sarah, he says the time of life, 9 months.
It's a process of time.
Right. Man, it's just, but it's they saying it, like I was saying, got Hebrew idioms. Just like that's the reason we talking. That's the reason we talking slang now.
Yeah,
So,
but to him, it was still a process. It was still a process of time. But he was looking at something, and through that process of time, he killed his brother. You know what I'm saying? And from then forth, huh?
You got to look at it like this: they're born, then process of time, they became elder. Now they at the altar, making a sacrifice. Then Cain, wicked as hell. He didn't bring the best of his. He's a tiller of the ground. He didn't bring the best.
That's what I'm saying. So that's my question. This is how they've been. So this is how they've been doing things. Is that they still looking through things, right? That are according to them righteous, because you know what I'm saying, that their forefathers. So we can't sit here and be like, yo, these people aren't paying attention to that and saying, all right, through a process of time, they killed, you know what I'm saying, Abel because of what they felt they deserved and what they felt their righteousness was. So, you know, if you continue on even to when Jacob knew, after everything that took place with him, every so 100 yards, Jacob sent all those people, you know, ahead of him, and he always sent an offering to Esau. So these folks, in their perception of a process of time, so if you look, yo, check their energy. They are so dogmatic, so to speak, in how things go. You tell them what a process, yo, this is supposed to take time. Yo, they're like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. F that time. You know what I'm saying? This belongs to me. This is their spirit. So if the Most High or the Lord of Hosts is saying, yeah, through a process of time, give me a righteous offer, the idea for them was to kill their brother. You see what I'm saying? So now it was so the way it worked for them people to say, yo, the Egyptian culture, right? Mizraim was the ideology that they was going to choose to rule over everybody. There has to be a connection to that spirit, because we know that's not how we operate, you know? So for them to say, yo, after everything they done seen dealing with Mizraim during what took place with Moses, so to speak, right? For them to say now, yo, this is still where we need to go back to rule the Ptolemaic rule of Egypt, and for them, yo, there has to be a connection. There was no other connection that they could possibly make, you know, throughout even the children of Ham, because you know that's where the majority, and that's why there's a pyramid on the dollar bill. So there was no other connection that they can make other than that one, if it doesn't relate to what they come from. Does that make sense? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Brother Leonard.
Yeah.
Could we, I hear what you're saying, Brother Michael. Could we take it back to the beginning and in the garden again, when Samuel beguiled Eve, and through the process of time, knowing that the firstborn would be the chosen one, he wanted to, with his first, because if even you take Genesis 4:3, and you look back at Numbers and it explains it. Numbers 18 talks about that first of the fruits of the ground, the first cattle, and how
Right.
raise that cattle to be that offering, and how you get the first fruits
Right.
um for the Most High, what He wanted. And always cunning and conniving and deceitful is he, Samuel, that he knew that he was not conceived in the right way, because there was trickery. And by him trying to give his fruit, knowing that he did not give that first fruit,
Right.
that he had to kill Abel, because back then, like you say, the first child bears the kingship, the first child.
Right.
So he was saying, if I don't give you your first fruit like you say, then I'll kill your Abel beloved, and then I'll become the first again, because he thought he first did this to Eve, but she had already been with Adam,
Right.
and so then she went to him, but he knew that he had already known that she had been with Adam, but because he pushed and came out first,
Right.
he was saying that he was the first.
Right.
All of that, as we continue to learn it, and continue to help us to learn it and guide us, we always have to take it back to the lineage of which it started, to see that no matter how through the process of time these things happen, Samuel L. will continue to get as conniving and deceitful in his bewitching trickery, as that, as you say, Michael, through process of time, to continue to disguise things in order to elude the people in a false, pretentious truth that they believe will happen if they empower more people with the JC and the calling of these spirits, of these fallen angels, for this dogmatic support that they give one another in trying to conquer, with the prophecy say that they cannot have.
Right. 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 Yeah. There's no way. There's no way to. What I try to tell a lot of people, especially people that come dealing with prophets of awakening, you got to look at people out there in the world. They're not looking through the lenses you're looking through. So
Right.
you got to understand that. So like I was saying, when the twins born, we see all of them were struggling based on everything you just said. They're trying to come out and be the first. They were struggling in Sarah's womb. I mean, they were struggling in Rebecca's womb, and then even with Judah and Tamar. Them two was fighting in the womb. And then it was fighting. Cain came out first. He ain't got nothing to do with Adam, but he's trying to reap the benefits of it. Because, like I said, because he came out first, he'll till of the ground, and Adam will till of the ground too. Genesis chapter 2 tells you, after he rested 6 days in the Shabbat, then on the 8th day he formed Adam. That's how we know they're the same man. But he said, I formed Adam because he needed a man to till the ground. That's a till of the ground. So he already got till of the ground. But when Cain was born, Cain was a till of the ground also. And Abel was a keeper of sheep. So we see right there. Where did David come from? What was David doing all his life? Keeping sheep.
Telling the sheep.
Right.
So
David was dealing with the sheep.
Right. So when you understand all that, you can rightly divide the scriptures. When you can see when it's a false flag going on. So like I was saying about understanding that it was a man created on the 6th day. So what's going on? He created everything first. Then he was creating all this for this man he made on the 8th day. That's why he said the man whom he formed, he put him in the garden. He got rulership. So the man Ham subject to Shem.
Right.
Ham is subject to Adam. And that's the way it was till these 200 angels came. The 200 angels came to Egypt. Like I said, they're not telling you where they went. They went to Egypt. And I got to search that back out. It's been a long time since I had read it. Got to find out where it's at. But they was complaining. Some of Adam's descendants was complaining, saying that the people that you gave us to help to serve us, they didn't lift their head up above us. So how did it happen? When the Egyptians, when these fallen angels came and started sleeping with these women, giants was born. So they took them away from Adam's descendants. They no longer listened to them. They started dealing with these angels. So,
right.
So my point was
that's what I'm saying. I get the point, but Cain was present at this time.
No, I'm in Egypt after all that happened. So I'm showing you the wickedness of what's going on in Egypt and where it radiated from. So a lot of people read over it. I'm in Isaiah chapter 19. Isaiah 19, and it's going to take you out when you read it with the right lenses on. You'll see what I'm talking about. So chapter 19, this is the oracles of Egypt. And I'm showing you this is where the 200 angels came down here. So it says, the burden of Egypt. Behold, the Lord arrived upon a swift cloud and came into Egypt. And the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. So like I said, this the Lord, he showed up at the Tower of Babel, showed up in the garden after Eden and had sinned, showed up at Sodom and Gomorrah. So he's showing up right here. But there's a reason why he's showing up. Then verse 2, and I will set the Egyptian, see that? These Mizraim giants against the Egyptian, and they shall fight everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, kingdom against kingdom. And the spirit of Egypt, because the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof. He's doing the same thing right now. And I will destroy the counsel thereof. Who counseling them? These fallen angels. They shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and to wizards. And the Egyptian will I give over into the hands of cruel lords. And a fierce king shall rule over them, says the Lord of hosts. And the waters shall fail from the sea, and the rivers shall be wasted and dried up, and they shall turn the rivers far away, and the brooks, the fence shall be empty and dried up the reeds of the flags, and the paper reeds. So he's giving you all the information in Egypt. The paper reeds by the brook, by the mouth of it, and everything sown by the brook shall wither and be driven away and be no more. The fishers also shall mourn, and all they cast angles into. Go back to Genesis. Fishermen, greater fishermen. So it says, and all they cast angles into the brooks shall laminate, and they shall spread nets into the waters, shall languish. Moreover, they that work in fine flex, that's the papyrus, and they that weave network shall be confounded, and they shall be broken in the purposes thereof, and all that make slices and puns for fish. Now here you go, right here, starting right here. Surely the princes of Zoan are fools. The counsel of the wise counsel of the Pharaoh. This is the meat, this is the knowledge. It came from these fallen angels. It's all right here, what I'm going to read. Surely the princes of Zoan, that's a city. That's a city in Egypt. The princes of Zoan, the counsel of the wise counsel of Pharaoh has become brutish. How say ye unto the Pharaoh, I am the son of a wise, the son of an ancient king. These fallen angels. Where are they? Where are thy wise men? And let them tell thee now, and let them know what the Lord of hosts hath proposed upon Egypt. The princes of Zoan are become fools. The princes of Nuke, see that? Nuke, remember this. Zoan, Nuke, this the meat of Egypt, what the Egyptians is dealing with, right? So the princes of Zoan are become brutish. The princes of Nuke are deceived. They have also seduced Egypt. I think that's what the serpent did to Eve. Seduced Egypt even they that stay of the tribe thereof. The Lord hath mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and they have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggering in his vomit. Neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or the tail, branch or rush may do. In that day shall Egypt be like unto a woman, and it shall be afraid and feared because of the shaking of the hand of the Lord of hosts, which he shaketh over it. So we see right here, all this go back to Nimrod. Matter of fact, go to Genesis and let's see if anybody got any comments. So go to Genesis right quick to chapter 10. Chapter 10, verse 13. See that? Mezarine begot Lunan. So it started with Mezarine, giants, all the way down to 20. So the land of Egypt, Canaan, all these right here, giants. That's what he's talking about. So that's where that knowledge, all that knowledge came. It didn't come from Yahweh. It come from what we read in the book of Enoch. What we read in the book of Enoch, what these angels were teaching them.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Teaching who? You know what I'm saying? They were teaching
6 day man.
So now where is Cain? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so
Cain is over in Canaan. Canaan. That's
what I mean. So like we're looking at the Lord of hosts. The Lord of hosts spoke to Cain. He spoke to Cain, and Cain spoke to him.
Right.
You know, so I'm not taking away, you know what I'm saying, anything that you're saying, but
it's all good.
It had to start like so when he spoke to Cain, and Cain was feeling some type of way, and he said, yo, give me, you know what I'm saying, a decent offering and things of that nature, and that, it never worked out. So Cain killed Abel, and then a mark was put on him, and then Cain went out from the midst, and he started to. So it's not like these fallen angels ain't have an influence on him. It's, you know what I'm saying, that's not what I'm saying. But they had to use someone.
The serpent got influence on him. The serpent dealing with him.
Yeah. So
it's not a whole bunch of angels. It's a serpent. Samuel are dealing with him.
Right.
That's his son. Yeah. So,
right.
So if you the follow that lineage though is in Genesis chapter 9. See Noah story with Noah. Japheth lineage continued on through Canaan. Just like you got two in chapter 11. You got two. See what I'm saying? Japheth.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like that whole thing. They done flipped us with these. It's word salad. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. Like, Japhet lineage actually moved on. So curse be Canaan. Right? But we know that's Japhet.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So Cain is Japhet. So now when
he went on too, though. You gotta look at what we just read. He says that Adam had Seth, then he had other sons and daughters. So Japhet left after he did what he did to Noah's wife. He left with his wife. Now that's what we reading over there with Javan and all them. But he's the one fathered Canaan too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, and that's all I'm stressing is it came from a beginning. It came from Genesis 4. You know what I'm saying? And we're not paying attention to that because this is how they keep us down, is through that understanding. So the Most High, the Lord of hosts said to him, yo, give me a specific offering, right? And you'll be accepted. He never gave that shit. He killed his brother.
Right.
So he has that same understanding as what he was supposed to do. So look at what he went on to do. And that is the quintessential example of this type of people that we're dealing with today. That's all I'm stressing.
Exactly. Right. Exactly.
That's how they move, man.
You see the characteristics.
You know what I'm saying? Like they're
Right.
going to hide themselves and manipulate and do whatever they got. They've been running. So imagine the strength. Imagine the gall to speak to the creator or the Lord of anything to say, I don't know my brother at nigga.
Right.
He ain't I ain't his keeper. So
Right.
imagine what he is gonna do with the knowledge that God gave him. So
Right.
God said to him, yo, give me us. And he said, hold up, do what now? Oh, that's all I gotta
Right.
do. So he created the whole concept of Mizraim. He created, so this is why God is constantly saying, I got to put my hands on this land.
Right, right, right. Exactly.
That's all I was stressed. That's all I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So I don't think that's the 6-day man though. You see what I'm saying? That's also what I'm saying. Like the 6-day man, nah, they know, you know, they wise enough not to go against you see what I'm saying? They may interpret and not really understand, you know what I'm saying, a lot of these things, but I don't think they brazen enough as Japhet or remember Japhet is an offspring of Cain. So who is more brazen than the offspring of Cain to say, nah, we finna figure you out. So look at Elon Musk, look at the people that done created CERN, look at all of them. That's that spirit. So
Right.
for me to look at Egyptians and be like, well, the Egyptians that they done gave us to perceive as Egyptians, you know, that was Ptolemy and you know, homegirl, Cleopatra in that nature, to be like, yo, they were Ham, or no, you've been teaching us that's not Ham. So
No,
them Egyptians, they would never Ham. Ham would never do 6-day man ain't doing that type of shit. You
Right.
know, they
Right.
not 6-day man, yo. They something totally other than, you know what I'm saying? That's all I was stressing. So everything that you said, I'm right along with you, but you know, it's just like, hey, let me look at this and say, nah, that's not them folk. It's not
Right.
them folk.
Right.
You know,
So
it's
how you
not
look
them
at
folk.
that?
I can't put them on Ham. I can't say that's Ham.
Right. Exactly. So how you look at that? Two things. Right. So you got a man he created, right? A man and a woman he created, and they multiplied. And then you got angels that he created.
Yes, sir.
So these created angels was given the created man created these angels watching over the created man. But
Yes,
he got seven. He got these seven that's dealing with Adam and Adam descendants.
Right.
So these 200 angels that came down, they went to that created man. They left from their state and went and started intermingling with them. That's where the drama started. Right. So these 7 angels, Adam descendants ended up in Jerusalem, right?
Right.
So Esau came through Rebecca, just like Jacob did, right?
Right.
So they came and usurped the land of Israel. so look how they talking. Look how they talking to, like you said. Look how they talking to the Creator. Cain was talking to Lord of Hosts. Well, look how they talking to him in Malachi. He said, "I'm gonna make this place desolate," but they said we coming back.
I'm gonna come back and rebuild. Right.
Gonna bring it back up. That's why they over that line.
Right.
So another part of that, and this is what people not paying attention to, is when during the time of so-called JC, which is Caesarean. You gotta understand that it happened in Caesarean though. So what they offering? What they offering on the altar? Lame animals. Lame animals. They got no respect for the Most High. So that's why JC went off, because of he knew the same people that killed Julius, killed his daddy. That's why he went off with turn over the tape. But you follow that spirit that the Most High was just talking about. That's how you see who they are. They can't hide the spirit because he put it on Cain. He's gonna go all over the earth taking shit from everybody else. He ain't got no more connection with the earth. So that's how you track him.
So it's the same spirit. It's the same folk.
Same spirit.
The same folk. Hey, bro. Hey, bro. Speaking on that, yo, you see what they doing now? They done figured it out. Them folk over there about that that red heifer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they saying, you know what I'm saying? It's one more year on this red heifer that they got over there. These false folk, but you know what I'm saying? They like, yo, that red heifer that they got about 5 of them from over here, and it's gonna be 2024. The red heifer to be 3 years. Right. So yeah, this is what they doing. So like I'm saying, like we need to pay attention to how we getting hit at on so many levels, man.
Right. And you go back to that, what we just been talking about, how it's no different than what's happening today that happened back then. They snowed the 6 Day man. So they weren't even dealing with Adam descendants no more. Well, look at us. We've been snowed. They didn't snuck in the New Testament, and we ain't trying to, we can't even, you're not thinking about the stuff that you're hearing over here. If you don't know nothing about this stuff, you're going right along with what they're doing. Like I say, look at the drug thing. Somebody makes some crystal meth. It'll blow up just making it. It might blow the whole room up, but you're gonna take it and put it in your nose, or whatever you do with it. So, not reasoning. It's called he made it. We concocted it, so you're gonna deal with it. That's where we at. That's crazy. Abortion.
Yeah.
Cause they come up with it, you're gonna deal with it. You're gonna do something with it. Right. That's the same thing they did with when those 200 angels came to Egypt. They completely wiped out the 6 Day man understanding with the Most High and with Adam descendants. They didn't want to deal with them no more. They had snowed them in.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beast, right? You know what I'm saying? So don't abort the beast. So they told you there, like, strange flesh was being mingled, and you know what I'm saying, it's what's supposed to take place. Don't abort it. It's strange.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It came off everything that from that group that you see right there in Genesis chapter 10, from Mesopotamia all the way down. That's strange flesh.
Right, it's strange.
That's strange flesh. So yeah.
Yeah, you're right, man. You're right.
So we had 2 hours. Anybody else got anything they want to talk about, or something that was said? Everybody good?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yeah, so we still in Genesis chapter 11. I guess I start in 12 next week. Okay. Everybody good?
I'm just saying. I mean, I think it's interesting that people think we're supposed to get through these chapters easy.
Oh yeah, well, especially not right up in that area. In right
Hell,
that's where we got snowed in at right around there.
And that's the crazy part. That's just the beginning.
Oh yeah,
we still in the beginning.
Right.
Yeah, we got.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I want to. Yeah, when you said that, I want to shine a light on something else too. I was in Jasher. I think that was in. Man, I can't remember. I was reading where he says, no, that was in the Bible, in King James. I was in chapter 19 of Isaiah. I'm gonna shine a light on that right quick before I close out. Chapter 19. So it says, so like I was saying, I in the book, God, the history, his story, I was breaking down the characteristics of those of the Lord of hosts and the characteristics and roles of these different angels, what they do. So he says right here, verse 2, this is one of the things that you see the Lord of hosts always, this is one of the 6 signs to know it's him. Verse 2, chapter Isaiah 19 and 2. And I will set the Egyptian against the Egyptian, and they shall fight everyone against his brother. See that? So he turned them in against each other. We see that now. That's what's happening right now. That's how he destroy them. He turn them in against each other. So we said he's making a point. The Egyptian against the Egyptian, and they shall fight everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor. City against city, kingdom against kingdom. So let's go to Genesis 19. I mean Genesis 15. I mean, yeah, Genesis 15. Yeah, Genesis 14. I'm in Genesis 14. Verse 1.
Got it.
So these giants, we talked about this before, but this verse 3. All these were joined together in the vale of Zidon, which is in the South Sea. So all these giants, I showed that whole region, Egypt and all that land, the middle, northeast Africa, all that Canaan, them giants there. So right here is where he destroyed all of them. These all giants fighting against each other. The ones that's over in Genesis 10. He turned them in against each other. So it says, this is how he destroyed the Tower of Babel. It came to pass in those days that Arphaxad, king of Shinar, that's Nimrod, he ain't dead. Arphaxad, king of, I can't say these names. Anyway, verse 2, that they made war with Barkar, king of Sodom. So they go these 2 different brothers, kings fighting against kings. And they don't really talk about that, but that's how Lot got taken. But he's getting rid of them. He calls them he put a spirit on them to fight against each other. And so you gotta Google that veil of Zidon. When you Google that, you're gonna find out there's a whole lot more to it. It's a big slaughter. You know, thousands and thousands of giants, men of stature fighting against each other. Want that something? And so you always see him doing that. You saw him do it with the Assyrians. When they came to the land of Egypt, and Ezekiel prayed, and they had this big, huge army sitting outside the gates of Jerusalem. It was going to attack them the next morning. But when they woke up the next morning, they was all dead because he had came among them and caused them to fight against each other. That's one of his characteristics. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yo, that's I think that's what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, like, you know, humility, meekness, and understanding how the Lord of hosts actually work. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, pay attention to how it work. Like, so that's what I mean. Cain knew ASAP what he had to do, and Cain was on his job from day one. Flood came, and anyone he was established with, dealing also with those fallen, they knew, and they picked up right where they left off, pre-deluge, post-deluge. They picked up. So you know what I'm saying? It's like you was bringing out, dealing with these ziggurats and things of these nature. Yo, they been picked that up. They picked it up. The internet we dealing with right now, how we talking right now, they been picked that up.
Right.
And they figured it all out, and they're continuing to figure it out.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's what I'm saying. Jealousy is a son of a gun. Look at what. That's why I had to bring that up. You know what I'm saying? Genesis chapter 4. The energy that's the serpent seed. Cain is the serpent seed. So That's who we still dealing with. This is who he said had to be dealt with,
Right.
even
Right.
on this side of the deluge.
Right.
So look at who we still dealing with till this day, the serpent seed. We
Right.
still
And
dealing
they
with
mingle. They mingle with us too.
yeah. The ingenious of him. That's what you see what I'm saying? What you just said. His ingenious was to intermingle.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Why? Because of his jealousy that he couldn't. So he killed his brother.
Right.
And said, I'm gonna take his place. Check that out. And then Eve brought forth Seth. And that's what I'm saying. Like, so in many scriptures, it says that's when man began to call on the name of the Lord. In other scriptures, it says that's when man began to curse the name of the Lord.
Right.
So,
exactly.
you know what I'm saying? You gotta do your due diligence in understanding what that even means. So when Seth was born, there's scriptures that tell you that's when man began to call on the name of the Lord. In the Tanak, it says that's when these people began to curse the name of the Lord. So now after Seth, what started taking place? A curse. So this is when those angels came down and really started to run havoc. And that's why we ended up in the deluge. That's why we ended up with this flood. And now we on the other side of it. And guess what? Seth's children, excuse my language, Cain's children picked right back up. So now what happened? Right? What's the boy name?
Esau?
Not Esau, not Esau. What's the other white boy? Japhet.
Okay.
Japhet began his conquest. So think about. So let I know we over the time, but think about it. So Japhet understood what was going on. Ham didn't. This is what I'm saying. People put this perception on Ham. Ham ain't paid attention. The first thing of anything, God said, be fruitful and multiply, correct?
Right.
Correct.
So Japhet immediately went to work. So you don't think Cain knew that? But Cain's offering was not accepted.
Right.
So on that side of flood, Japhet immediately went to work. So this is the problem that we're dealing with right now. Who is telling us what the word of God is? Right? These so-called people, right? Who are serpents. They're prosperity ministers. They're all of these things. Japhet immediately went to work. No matter where's the righteousness? Who cares? Be fruitful and multiply. Does righteousness speak on anything about being fruitful and multiplying? No, it doesn't. Japhet immediately went to work to be fruitful and multiplying. And that woman was somebody attached to something of an understanding. Abel was attached to something of understanding. So Japhet immediately went to work. He immediately said, I'm about to be fruitful with her. So cursed be Canaan is the first things Noah uttered.
Right.
Cursed be Canaan. So on this side of the flood, right? On this side of the flood, the first, excuse my language, fucking thing that Noah said was curse. Right. Cursed be something. Correct? Cursed be Canaan. So of course, right. So of course, these people got a hold of the words, and of course, now guess who the first people they cursed was us.
Right.
We were the first people they cursed.
Right.
Let that like Brother Leonard said, let that ferment.
Right. Right.
Let that shit ferment.
The four beasts is those two, Esau and Japhet. and came together. That's what the four beasts is.
Yeah, I hope they understand that.
Right.
I hope people understand that. That's the beast right there. Because guess what? It tells y'all in your New Testament, it's diverse. No, that's in Daniel, right?
Daniel.
That's in Daniel. Yeah. This beast is diverse. Why is he diverse from the other? You know what I'm saying? Like, think about why he diverse.
Exactly. You said something?
Yeah, that's something. He wants all people. That's why he diverse, because he knows that he is weak to the prophecy.
Right.
As much as he tries through AI, through these prophetic wars that are happening, everything that is prophesied, that is said, and again through the process of time and things that are innovating, happening, futuristic, all of those words that are trickery and again bewitching, making America great again,
right,
fast pace, this or that, all things is just the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the Iron Curtain. Again, like you say, Michael, pay attention, read the word, read in between the word. We don't even have enough time to go through the 5 books of the Torah and really break them down as is. Because we can do like we do here in the prophet, do current events, need to know. These things are constant all the time.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I stress this. It's like Brother Leonard has been stressing us. It. A lot of us don't let this ferment. So, like he would say, diverse. Then what is the perception of what we would think is diverse? So we're seeing how this beast is moving from nature. It's a parasite. You know what I'm saying? How it's moving. It's a beast. How it moves from nation to nation, and so forth and so on. Like the brother always stresses, it's diverse.
Right, set upon the 4 corners of the earth. It's going to be everywhere we are. They are. There is good and evil.
Right. They consume the whole earth. Right. So everybody good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, we got the women's line tomorrow at 8, and the men come in through the YouTube. I'll see everybody tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.